With burnt agricultural machinery, local farmers blocked the road to the village in order not to let the Russian troops in. But this did not become an obstacle for the heavy equipment of the occupiers. A small village was captured by the Russians on the night of March 13, 2022. During the 7 months of the occupation, shelling did not cease here.
They shot so hard that it was unbearable, and we fled to Kryvyi Rih. They lived there. Then the Russians were expelled here. Ours came. We arrived and began to put things in order. Everyone wants to live in his house. Little by little, everything was raked out here. Lucky at least we fixed it. Thanks they did not damage the trees. Executioners smashed here, smashed there. Rails lie. We have already figured out how to do it. We need to completely change everything. The roof was raised and laid down.
Volunteers from Kryvyi Rih are helping to restore the destroyed housing. This time they brought the necessary building materials to the local residents.
This is how we all live. Now the volunteers will give you building materials. What do you need first of all, so that it doesn't leak? Oh, don't even know, honestly. Whatever they give, we will be glad.
Before Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, about 1,000 people lived in the village. Most of the people left during the fighting. When they returned, it turned out that they had nowhere else to live.
At first we were in Poland for 3 months, then in the Vinnytsia region for 5.5 months. Being here for 4 months now. We built this house in a wasteland with our own hands, all smashed. We need to hire someone. I won't do it myself. Thanks to people that they let me to live with them.
Some of the houses in the village are now subject to demolition. Local residents temporarily live with neighbors in more surviving houses or outbuildings.
This is the room we live in. There is bathtub. There is no water, no electricity, gas. Thank God we have. Sometimes they give water, they give bread, drinking water, and we have technical water in the well.
We started coming in November. We came and saw. Here the soldiers stood for more than a month. I slept here. Vitaly, a soldier, slept there. And there were 5 more people. And then the house was full.
During the Russian occupation, several dozen people remained in Davydiv Brid. All of them were forced to live in basements, to hide from the shelling and terror of the invaders. Having captured the village, the Russians established their own rules here. They equipped firing points, settled and dropped the houses of local residents.
I don't have anything they could take, and all scooters, all bicycles, cars were taken away from the use. Hammer 1 and the second and eggs, everything was taken away. And at my nephew's, I looked after their house, so they came in and took everything they wanted.
Lyudmila is one of those who survived the occupation in her native village. She says she was afraid to come out of hiding for several months. After the release she left, it was impossible to spend the winter in a damaged house. A few weeks ago the woman returned to rebuild her home.
If only he could be repaired, that's how much I need. To repair it, written it on top, and that's it.
Davydiv Brid was an important stronghold for the occupiers. The Ukrainian army liberated the village on October 4, 2022. This became a key point for the counter-offensive of the armed forces of Ukraine in the Kherson region. It will take a long time to eliminate the consequences of the Russian hold here. If you want, you can report, but if you don't want, you may not. Putin's new decree allows both chambers of the Russian parliament to publish declarations in a generalized form, and for the duration of the so-called special operation, senators and deputies may not do this at all.
The State Duma has no plans to publish information about deputy incomes, even in a generalized form. This applies to everyone, and not just those sent to the war zone. From a publication of Vedomosti with reference to a source in the apparatus of the lower house of the Russian parliament.
In fact, Russian society has been divided into two classes. Some are dying in Ukraine, others are multiplying their assets. While some are knitting socks for Russian soldiers, others do not bother with declarations. The fact that power in the Federation has always profited from its people is no secret to anyone. Numerous investigations have shown that the Kremlin elite has more than enough property: yachts, palaces, real estate abroad, bank accounts. But only if earlier the political elite at least pretended to report to their people, publishing information on income annually. Since March of this year, a law has come into force that allows not to disclose information about the income and real estate of parliamentarians. Moreover, the State Duma intends to publish information partially. For example, how many declarations were submitted, how many were not submitted, whether there were violations in them.
They don't like their rallies. They banned them. They don't like anti-corruption declarations, and that's fine. The enemy now, the West, the Ukrainians, will take advantage of this information and will use it against our state. How convenient to cancel it now. There is no institution of reputation, because there are no elections either. The senator does not care how the voters see it, because his voter is alone, and he sits in the Kremlin, and this is Putin.
Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine showed not only the incapacity of the Russian army, but also of the Putin regime as such. The lack of success at the front, the unwillingness of Russians to mobilize, the resistance to the regime, all this is just the beginning of Putin's collapse, experts say. Therefore, he is trying in every possible way to win loyalty along the entire vertical. The goal is simple: friends can steal, the main thing is surviving of system.
Putin surrounded himself with those people to whom he distributed poverty, palaces, media empires, oil resources, and so on. They were allowed to steal in unlimited quantities. It was these people who inspired him with the idea that he was an emperor. This is Putin's style, in fact, the style of all KGB officers: bribery, threats, blackmail. These are three things that work out. Bought everyone and now buys a little more this loyalty.
10 zeros in the declarations of officials will obviously not motivate Russians to go to the front to die. Therefore, instead of demonstrating that the life of people for the government is worth nothing, it is better to feed them with propaganda materials about Nazism in Ukraine, experts emphasize.